evening, you're watching Estuary TV News. Coming up, Rule Britannia, Commonwealth Day and Humber Imperialism. If they come, they will build it. Young people explore the construction industry. And I'll be talking to Tom Reed from On the Bench Extra about the upcoming Wembley fixture for North Ferriby United. Welcome to Estuary TV News. I'm Hugh Richards. First of all, it's over to Richard Morris for the news headlines.
Hello there. Work started on a £6.3 million project to improve the A18 to A180 link road to Immingham. It's been in the pipeline for years after a report published by North East Lincolnshire Council in 2009, when improvements were first proposed, show there's been 209 accidents on Pelham Road since 1981, 3 fatal and 59 serious. And Ward Councillor Mike Barton hopes it will alleviate problems with heavy goods vehicles in Immingham.
I think it's going to mean a great deal. For certainty, it's going to get the heavy goods traffic off Pelham Road, which has been a campaign that we've been trying to organise and working on for the last 10 years. So I'm pleased to see that it's coming to fruition.
Hull has been officially credited as a White Ribbon City. A plaque was unveiled at the city's Guildhall by the Lord Mayor yesterday. The White Ribbon campaign is a campaign that highlights domestic violence against women and uses male ambassadors to highlight this cause. Mary Glue outlined how the accreditation couldn't have come soon enough.
And it's about time too, really. And I thank all the agencies involved that have worked towards getting this accreditation. It is so important because it's men working with men, so it's change from within. Male ambassadors going out there, educating men about the effects of violence against women.
Yesterday, Hull received a visit from the chair of the Housing and Communities Agency. As part of the visit, Robert Napier, CBE, praised the City Council's work in getting more housing, particularly affordable housing, built for residents to buy and let.
I've been to Hull 3 years ago and 5 years ago, and on other occasions. It's fabulous to come to this site and see the transformation that's taken place here. There's still some very challenging places in Hull. We've also been there today, but here there's these wonderful new houses being built, and it's great to see people moving into them, and it's just a way of helping the whole regeneration and moving Hull forward. It's really exciting, and I congratulate everybody involved.
That's all from me, and I'll be back with more news soon. Bye for now.
Thank you, Richard. Apart from slavery, exploitation and despotism, the British Empire gave a quarter of the world democracy, law, railways and cricket, much of which survive in the Empire's heir, the Commonwealth. This region made its own contribution to lands far across Britannia's well-ruled waves. Dave Nunn waves the flag.
It's the remnants of one of the world's largest empires and spans 53 nations and 2.2 billion people. But how exactly did a village such as Kirkella and our wider area in general play an influence on the Commonwealth?
From Kirkella, people in the 19th century went further afield to different parts of the empire. People went to North America, in particular Canada, and that's why we're here at this graveside. And also they influenced affairs in Africa as anti-slavery spread.
Residents of Kirkella played important roles in the abolition of the slave trade alongside William Wilberforce, as well as starting events which can be attributed to Hull's twinning with Sierra Leone's capital, Freetown.
And it was one of his cousins, the Sykes family, particular Joseph Sykes, the big merchant, who has strong connections with this church. And in particular, his daughter had a great influence as the wife of Henry Thornton in influencing Sierra Leone, the first slave-free society in the world, and she was very much educated and lived in this village and attended the church behind us. It's one of the forgotten stories about Hull's connection with Sierra Leone is very much in this village, and that's the work and energies that were carried out in this village to fund and then to maintain the fledgling colony, the Providence of Freedom as it was called, in Sierra Leone. And it was very much important, it was very much linked by Hull people, and it's a forgotten aspect of that strong connection, a living connection between Hull and Freetown.
It's not just the North Bank. Citizens from the South Bank who emigrated to colonies in Canada and the US also influenced the establishment of settlements and the maintenance of colonies.
Yeah, exactly. Around the Niagara Falls area of Canada, there is a particular strong connection with our region. After York County was named in the 1790s, the nearby river was called the Humber River. And further south, there was Grimsby on the edge of the Great Lakes, and nearby was Caister, nearby Louth. So a strong connection with our region, from Scarborough in the north down to Lincoln in the south, remembered in these diasporic communities in Canada.
Our area may have not had the most prominent role in the Commonwealth, but it's left a lasting legacy.
I think it did, but in a very subtle, often forgotten way. And it was this rural British identity which was exported overseas. It wasn't necessarily the big empire state building events. It was more the rural life which was replicated overseas. And it helped maintain a strong connection with Britain and the monarchy, which is what's very much celebrated on Commonwealth Day.
You're watching Estuary TV News. A little later, we ask a big question of some little kids, this week from Kermington Primary School, and Dan Kemp will bring you all the sports news. I'm joined by our own Tom Reed from On the Bench Extra here on Estuary TV. So, Tom,
Hugh,
thank you very much for coming on. I believe there's something, well, I believe Sweet FA is happening.
Yes, that's correct, Hugh, yeah. North Ferriby United obviously going to Wembley. It's the first time in the club's history. This showcase generally attracts about 20,000 fans, so it's kind of a big deal for this club.
The FA, this is the FA Plate, the FA
Trophy.
Bowl, the FA Trophy.
Yes.
And what sort of teams compete for the FA Trophy?
Non-league clubs, semi-professional clubs. It's kind of like an FA Cup for the smaller clubs. So for this level of football, it's a good accolade. It's nice to win this.
How many other awards does the FA, standing in this case for Football Association, how many other awards does it offer?
Well, there's the FA Cup.
Yeah, I've heard of
there's
that.
obviously the FA Trophy.
Yeah.
There's other smaller cups as well, obviously locally and regionally, like things like that.
So this is a big deal. This is the next one down from the FA Cup.
It is. Well, this is a national tournament. Obviously, all the clubs around the country compete for this. Obviously, North Ferriby and Wrexham are the last two standing now.
And North Ferriby, what sort of a crowd can that command on a usual Saturday afternoon?
It's nothing like your Grimsby Towns and your Scunthorpe Uniteds. Obviously, they are a semi-professional club in the Conference North, just over the river in Hull. So you get a few hundred there. 1,000 would be a good crowd for North Ferriby. Already, I think they've sold over 2,000 tickets for this final, which is a great achievement. And
these players, they're professional, full-time football players with wags and distasteful houses?
No, well, yeah, possibly. I mean, these semi-professional footballers, these guys could be butchers, farmers, bus drivers. They've got other jobs. So this isn't their full-time job. So, this is great for these players.
So if you're going to be, if you're a butcher from North Ferriby, it's quite a big thing to be, and I'm going to use the sporting parlance here, it's quite a big thing to be trotting out onto the park. Is that right?
That is correct, yeah.
At Wembley.
Yes, I might imagine that. A 90,000-seater stadium, the national stadium, obviously England have played there. Some of your Steven Gerrards and your Frank Lampards.
Yes.
You're playing on the same field as those chaps. So yeah, I'd love to play there.
Well, and 1,000 people turn out on Saturday afternoon for North Ferriby. That's going to make Wembley Stadium look a little bit empty, isn't it?
Yes, obviously they'll close certain sections of the ground because they won't fill that fully to full capacity. They'll keep it quite narrow, I would have thought, and certain sides of the stadium for the away fans, and obviously, they're both away fans, but for both sets of fans, yeah, it'll be a good atmosphere.
How can people get tickets?
It's only available online through the FA's website. Both clubs obviously need to stress that. North Ferriby want to stress that. It is online, so get your tickets on there.
If you're going to be going down there, I guess that's an excuse for a day out, isn't it? A weekend out, because that's a long trip down to Wembley.
I think that's what the players are looking at this as. They're not favourites to win this game, but the players see this as it's a day out. It's a huge moment for the club in its history. Win or lose, what a great day for the fans and players.
So we're the underdog. North Ferriby is the underdogs, as it were.
Yes, yeah. Wrexham are a higher club, so to speak. On paper, they're the better team, but in a cup final, anything can happen.
Well, absolutely. That's the whole point of playing it. That's why we gamble.
Yes.
How many tickets have they sold? Do you know what the sales
between
are so far?
both clubs? There's about 10,000 at the moment. As I say, it normally attracts 20,000 fans, so they're well on their way to getting that this year.
You're going to be covering this, I hope?
I hope so, yeah. We're going to try and do some filming in and around with the club. We're going to talk about it this Saturday, more on the Bench Extra this Saturday. So, if you are interested, you can listen this Saturday.
What would it mean for a club like North Ferriby to win this tremendous trophy?
Financially, if they win this game, I suppose they would have never had that kind of money at the club. I believe it's around 25,000 for each club. for getting to Wembley. So
the
obviously
Football Association gives them 25
yes,
grand
for
automatically.
every round you progress through. Obviously, the higher you get, this is now the final. This will be the most, most rewarding financially.
So for each game they've played in this tournament,
Yes.
they get £25,000?
No, not that high.
Oh, I see.
Each game,
It gets higher.
yes, it gets higher.
And how many games will they have had to have played? I mean, how big a tournament is it?
Where there's a lot of teams in this. I would say there's about 7 or 8 rounds. There's preliminary rounds, qualifying rounds, and then obviously your quarterfinals, your semi-finals, and now this is the final. So it's like any other cup tournament, it's the same.
Okay, just remind me, when's On the Bench Extra again?
This Saturday at 10 a.m.
And it's North Ferriby and
Wrexham.
And versus Wrexham,
Yes.
playing at Wembley at the end of
Sunday,
March.
the 29th of March.
Sunday, the 29th of March. Tom, good luck to them. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Many young people are missing out on promising careers in the building trade because they're unaware of the opportunities to progress and the diversity of roles it offers. But work is now being done to show young people that there's more to building than just bricks and mortar. The Open Doors campaign aims literally to open the doors to building sites and let potential builders speak to people in the trade about exactly what's out there. James Dunn went to Scunthorpe to find out more.
It's seen by many as a good solid trade, but this is a somewhat dated view. That's why the UK Contractors Group has launched the Born to Build scheme to show young people that a career in construction can offer a promising future.
It will. People do not understand just what opportunities are available in construction. There's a huge range of jobs, and many people don't know what, for example, a quantity surveyor might do, a design engineer. People have an image of construction, and it's moved on a lot.
Fronting the campaign for Scunthorpe-based firm Clugston is Tom Brooke, a young engineer who's never regretted his decision to choose construction.
Trying to say construction is a good career option. I left school at 16, got straight into this sort of industry, and I wouldn't look back at all. I'm completely 100% behind it. Yes, I can see why young people sort of are pushing to come into this industry, but on my behalf, I couldn't really thank them enough.
And it's not just for boys. Laura Brown is a quantity surveyor and believes it's much more woman-friendly than many give it credit for.
The construction industry isn't a man's world. There's plenty of career opportunities for women in the industry. It's not something that's well publicised really in terms of schools and colleges and things like that. So hopefully it's something that we can encourage through days like this.
These young people visited the site of Scunthorpe's University Training Centre as part of the scheme to improve awareness. And it's been encouraging to these painting and decorating students from North Lindsey College.
They need more women in it. There's too many males. People like girls in there and they'd all get involved.
I mean, I've never seen a building site like that before. I mean, normally I'm used to small jobs, just decorating for family, friends, a bit of clients, but I'd definitely like to work on a construction site.
And if today's done its job, it will provide the building blocks for more young people to choose a career in construction.
And James joins me now. James, that seems like a cheerful story.
Well, I mean, it's good news, really. I think it's perhaps not known as the most glamorous career, but perhaps that's not necessarily true. And I think it's them trying to tell people that actually there's a lot of opportunity, and hopefully the people that did go along could see that.
And what sort of qualifications do you need to go into the building trade?
Well, there's various qualifications you can get. I mean, I think the great thing about it, as they were saying there, is that you pretty much can start at 16 and maybe get vocational qualifications as you go through. But what I actually wanted to talk about today was that training centre. So that building site that they were on there is the University Training Centre in Scunthorpe. It's a £9.5 million building. Now, that place is going to be training the renewables engineers of the future, so people working on the wind turbines. And I just think it's quite interesting that we've had that campaign to tell people that construction's a great industry. Now we've got people moving into renewables. Whereas, 10 years ago or so, it was all about education, education, education under Labour, and that was about university. And I do think we're seeing a real tide change in the things that are being pushed for young people. So it's not all about university, and given with the price of it now, I can see why that is right to do so. Now, what's interesting actually is in this area, I think we're pretty much leading in the charge in those, vocational facilities, and we're seeing a lot more pop up recently. So there is this university training centre. It's due to open in September, but already it's rumoured they might be upping their intake of the number of people who are going to be starting in those first years. So 14 to 19-year-olds. We're hoping to have those rumours confirmed in the next few days as to whether they will actually up that intake. But I mean, it goes to show the popularity that has come of these things.
Well, now, one of the aspects of that is that if you have, as Tony Blair wished, to have 50% of school leavers going to university, I think we've got about 35-40% at the moment. It's all very well when the population's swanning around with degrees in philosophy, but not much use if nobody can build a house or bring the engineering necessary for energy.
Exactly, and is it really right to target the number of students, the percentage of people who should go to university, when actually really perhaps we should be asking, what do these students want to do? What is more suitable for them than having government-driven targets which don't take into account the individuals to work out who and how many people should go to university, which I think is partly what led to the fee change in itself.
Are there any other places like this developing across the country?
Actually, I mean, I don't know about the country, but I know there are. But I know in this region, if you look at, for example, also in Scunthorpe, BAE Systems, they're probably later this week actually having a steel signing ceremony for the R.J. Mitchell Aircraft Maintenance Academy.
A steel signing ceremony?
That's a new thing, but I suppose they like to get people in every opportunity to say this is how we're doing and this is what we're going to be doing. And I think when the frame pops up, and it's remarkable how quickly they do pop up, because it's only last year I was there for the announcement, but the whole steel frame of the building will be complete, and they're due to open later this year.
R.J. Mitchell, of course, being the fellow who invented the Spitfire.
Very famous.
Designed the Spitfire.
Yeah, and it's nice the fact that they have these new, great technologically advanced facilities, but they like to inject a little bit of heritage in there as well.
Well, of course, but it's also a reminder that the defence of the realm, or at least the future of the country, is dependent more on engineers than it is on poets, I'm afraid, rather sadly to say.
Well, certainly, and in Britain, we've always led the world in engineering, and I suppose that in itself maybe could inspire the engineers of the future.
Now, it's an attractive thing for these young people to be looking at, of course, because not just engineering, but the building trades all across, they're lucrative.
Very much so, actually. I'm not sure if people quite realise. I don't know if you had that sort of advice as a young person, here's what you'll earn money in and here's what you earn. I'm not sure necessarily if teachers even know that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, as an engineer, particularly if you plan to stay in this region, you're likely to make a lot more than you will in many other professions.
James, thanks very much.
Thanks
for coming in. Time now to test our grammar. The pedants are revolting. Here is Spot the Mistake.
So today it's our regular feature, Spot the Mistake, and I'm going to be asking people about this piece of writing here. It says, my friend's dog went missing. If she's found, she's named Penny.
Penny.
Can you see where the mistakes are there? What should be there and what shouldn't be there?
Not really, though.
No? You think there's any grammatical errors in there?
I'm not sure, mate.
My friend's dog went missing. If she's found, she's named Penny.
Can you see what's wrong with it?
Yeah, it's a dog and it's a bitch, that one, she. No?
She's named Penny? No. Oh, I don't know.
It's not a trick question, it's the obvious.
No, I don't know.
My friend's dog went missing. If she's found, she's named Penny. There isn't an apostrophe next to the S there.
You're right. There's actually quite a few missing.
Oh, that's embarrassing.
No mistakes here. We ask a big question of some little kids at Kermington Primary School.
We are Kermington St Helena's Church of England Primary School. What do you think it would be like to be a homeless person?
I think it would be really sad and lonely and you feel like you're not loved.
It would be quite sad and quite terrifying and scary.
It would be very lonely and sad because you'd have no one.
It would be terrifying, horrible, and annoying. It would be quite sad and quite lonely because there wouldn't be anybody to talk to.
Now here's the sport with Dan Kemp.
North Ferriby United host Stalybridge Celtic tonight in their final home game before the FA Trophy final at the end of the month. The reverse fixture earlier in the season finished 2-2 and Lone goalkeeper Jonathan Hedge is expected to keep his place between the sticks in place of the injured Adam Nicklin, who is expected to be back for the cup final. Tonight's game kicks off at the Eon Visual Media Stadium at 7:45. In Rugby Union, Hull Ionians remain 3 points clear at the top of National League 2 North. Mark Bateman scored the first of 4 tries in their 29-14 win over third-place Chester before Steve Slingsby went over twice and a penalty try rounded it off. They now have just 5 games remaining, starting with Saturday's Yorkshire Derby against Harrogate. Elsewhere in the league, and Hull IUFC dropped back into the bottom 3 after their first loss in 3 at Broad Street. Hull went down 34-12 in the game and are now 3 points adrift of 13th place Luctonians. Meanwhile, Scunthorpe won 22-15 in Sutton Coldfield in Midlands 3. Hull City goalkeeper Rory Watson has had his loan spell at Conference North games with Trinity extended until the end of the season. The 19-year-old has made 4 appearances so far since signing in February and has already got 2 Man of the Match awards. And the Hull Stingrays are back in action tonight after a mixed weekend in the Elite League. The side won 3-1 in Fife before losing 6-1 to the Dundee Stars on Sunday and are now looking to push home their pursuit of a playoff place with a win against the Edinburgh Capitals. Face-off is at 7 o'clock this evening. And finally, Bridlington Town are in Northern Counties East Premier League action as they host Garforth Town tonight, whilst in Division 1 there's a Humber derby between Hall Road and Winterton Rangers, and Grimsby Borough are away at Emily. Tomorrow, Barton Town are at home to Tadcaster Albion. And that's all for the sport.
Thanks very much, Dan. I'm afraid that's all we have time for today in a fairly action-packed show. If you've a story for us, please go to our Facebook or Twitter pages as usual. We'd love to hear from you. Details are on the screen. Email news@estuary.tv or phone Grimsby 31553. That's 01472 31553. Until tomorrow, good evening.
Hello and welcome to Estuary TV's weather. Wednesday, some thick cloud and southerly breeze. Gales are likely over high ground later, with occasional heavy rain throughout and a maximum temperature of 8 degrees Celsius. Thursday will be fine and cold at first, but becoming cloudy with a few showers later on.